All right, a very good morning to you and you're welcome to the program. It's Good Morning Ghana, and we thank Almighty for giving us today to discuss the issues of the country. Let's go through the headlines of the newspapers. I start over the Daily Graphic and it says ICT in SHS's deepens. President launches smart school project, 1.3 million tablets to schools, 100 smart schools to be built. Finance Minister charges GRA customs to reduce leakages. BOG has strong buffers to support city governor. Two drown in Tubong Dam. Ghanaian Times. Government rolls out smart school project. About 1.3 million students to receive one tablet each. Will support you to meet revenue target. Finance Minister designate to GRA Customs Division staff. Medina MP pushes for 5% job quota for PWDS. There's no doomsday in Ghana. Energy Minister affirms promises to fix current power supply disruptions. Daily Guide. Pressure mounts over dead Chinese illegal miners. Sorry. Yes. Ebenage Herbal appoints new CEO. Ghana gives one student one laptop. Nana gives one student one laptop. Move to freeze the past made properties withdrawn. Golden Coast developers tops all. The new crusading guide. Government to construct 30 smart schools this year. Akufo-Addo. Government to construct 30 smart schools this year. Akufo-Addo. Compel Akufo-Addo to receive anti-LGBTQ plus bill. NDC to Supreme Court. Stop meddling in land conflicts. Ebri police commander warned. Kwesi Ahoy apologizes to Mahama. NDC. Attorney General's advice vindicates Speaker of Parliament minority. The top right corner. Zonda Tech offers road safety training for heavy-duty drivers ahead of Easter. The Insight. As legal wrangling drags on, court orders new IMC to take over operations of Adamu's Ghana Limited. South Sudan MP gets salute over suit to stop Parliament from approving Akufo-Addo's ministerial nominees. Comment Properties CEO accused, but friends deny claim. Organized labor GRA unions condemn Bawumia over comments against Revenue Authority. Alan Kyerematen, he vows to undertake massive reforms for all-round sports development. The Daily Statesman, Minister reassures measures to fix power disruptions. Ghana to get first ever leakage detection training field. Maslock Chief Executive Officer on it. 1.3 million smart tablets for SHS students. Akufo-Addo launches smart school project. Then we also have 3.5% growth in economic activity recorded in January. The Finder. Those who can afford should pay for secondary education. Moses Baden. Tor awaits transformation under new leadership. NPA commends Petrosol for investing in women empowerment. Government to buy 1.3 million tablets for pre-tertiary students. The Daily Post. Of arrogance and pomposity, Energy Minister tells Ghanaians asking for a load shedding timetable to produce their own. One student, one tablet. A whopping 2,330,115 students abandoned by the Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government. APARC reviews. We won't allow Akufo-Addo to cover up dubious SML contracts. Minority leader. That's what we have for you for the headlines of the papers today. Let's go for a break. Back shortly.
Colleague Minister from Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Minister Designate for Ministry of Information, Minister Designate for Local Government, and all other ministers, Deputy Minister of Education, Honorable Ntim Fojo, and the Deputy Minister Designate for Education, Professor Kinsley. Heads of other agencies under the Ministry of Education, the Chief Director, Nanano, Osu Manche, Nana Manfehne. Our development partners, Head of Local Government and Civil Service, teacher unions are present, our students and our friends from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited to be here today. It's rare to have the president and the vice president at your ministry's event. And today, history has been made. I see my boss, the president, I see my boss, the vice president. And that makes you humble when you are speaking. So, Mr. President, with your permission, I'll continue with my address. You know, most of you know that I like the extempo, but not when you're president and vice president, because you can't miss anything that you have prepared. So I'll stick to the script. But permit me to say, Ghana is in the 4th Industrial Revolution. And we want to lead. You know, in the first industrial revolution of the steam engine, Africa was not part of it. The second industrial revolution came, electricity. Where are the fringes? The third industrial revolution of the computer, we use them, but did not build them. Now we are in the 4th industrial revolution, time of the artificial intelligence, robotics, time when we can combine biological and the physical, the electrical, bring about innovation that the world has never seen. The time of YouTube, where you can go in and see what the people have done and do yours. This is the moment of Africa. And this is Ghana's moment. And I'm super excited that we get to embark on this after proving ourselves to secondary education from a little over 800,000. And now in 1 year, we have 504,000 students enrolled in our senior high schools first year. From a little over 800,000, today we have 1.4 million students enrolled in our secondary schools. And you know, for any government, that could have been an achievement in itself. I've increased enrollment from 800,000 to 1.4 million, just clap for me. But that is not, I didn't say clap for me. I said, for any government, they will have told you to clap for them. But Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the visionary president, was not satisfied. He tasked us with the responsibility to improve the quality of education. So I always say our party is the party of Manifesto Plus. We do things that we did not promise in our manifestos. Not a week passes by without the ministry receiving a delegation of chiefs asking for a STEM school. The STEM agenda is moving, and it's moving fast. But we also know digitalization and what the vice president has championed with the permission of the president. When you look at digitalizing the address system, mobile money interoperability. And I cannot even count because every day you turn around and he's launching something. I call him the techno-politician. The technocrat politician who is digitalizing everything under the visionary president of our time. Things are getting exciting. Many of us are familiar with a quote from the celebrated American civil rights leader Malcolm X, who said, education, and I quote, education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it, unquote. I'm also tempted to quote another American, Benjamin Franklin, who said, and I quote, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest," unquote. After improving access to secondary education, we are now enhancing the quality so that we create a pipeline of the next generation of Ghanaians from our kindergarten, through primary schools, through our junior high schools, to our senior high schools. And when I talk about Manifesto Plus, we did not promise in our manifesto that we're going to transform kindergartens and transform primary schools and make them centers of excellence, but it's happening under the leadership of the president. But today we are here to talk about digitalization in our high schools. See, since assuming power in 2017, this government prioritized education and proceeded to demonstrate this commitment. When it was said free senior high school was impossible, the government went ahead to prove otherwise, and today, some 5.7 million children who are our own children, brothers and sisters, have benefited from the program. We have produced some impressive outcomes and results from the West Africa Senior High School Certificate Examination. And recently I heard somebody saying that Ghana is no longer part of WASSCE.
Christian and Muslim, the Vice President, Minister for Education and Member of Parliament for Boston South, Ministers and Deputy Ministers designate, Members of Parliament, Secondary Schools chairs, leadership of teacher unions. On 27th February 2024, whilst delivering the message on the state of the nation to Parliament, I intimated that government had begun the rollout of the one tablet per student policy at all senior high schools. It is intended to be a great tool to help bridge the gap between disadvantaged and privileged students. Today, I have the singular honor of launching officially yet another intervention to add further impetus to what I've already described as a transformative policy that has broken myths and liberated minds, the free senior high school program. Ladies and gentlemen, education is not merely a right, a privilege. We now know that it is a fundamental right whose enforcement empowers individuals, transforms societies, and propels nations towards progress and development. As we gather here today, let us reflect on the crucial role that education plays in shaping the destiny of our nation. Indeed, education is at the center of poverty eradication. It therefore explains why, against all odds, I went ahead to propose and subsequently implemented the Free Senior High School Program, popularly known as Free SHS, in September 2017, 9 months after I took office. From the initial annual enrollment of 422,940 in 2017, some 503,000 children entered senior high school this year, the highest ever enrollment of children into senior high school in a single year in our history. With 5.10 million children having so far benefited from this SHS policy since it was instituted in September 2017. The considerable budgetary allocations within the period, totaling some 12.8 billion cedis, amply demonstrate the sheer determination by the Akufo-Addo government to ensure that education becomes a catalyst around which the future transformation of our nation will revolve. I'm particularly proud of how, in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic and other dire economic constraints, we've been able to sustain the free senior high school program and advance it even further with the addition of TVET and STEM without compromising the needs of the lower level of our education system. Again, I have on a previous occasion touted my administration's monumental strides in the digitalization agenda and singled out for praise the leadership role of my excellent and indefatigable Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the man all of us, including even his enemies in the MDC, called Dr. Digitalization. Through his sterling efforts, transparency, efficiency, and accountability in the public sector have improved significantly. Under my direction, government took a decision to align the digitalization agenda to education improvement initiatives, from pre-tertiary all the way to the tertiary level, which is the reason for today's function. Government is determined to derive the optimum benefits in the twin areas of education and digitalization. I dare say that the investment and commensurate commitment towards education enhancement over the last 7 years is unmatched by any government since the inception of our Fourth Republic some 31 years ago. These are seen in the areas of policy, infrastructure, equipment and retooling, furniture, scholarship, stationery provision, and enhancement of teacher welfare. One of the things that the COVID-19 pandemic succeeded in doing to us was to expose our vulnerability in so many areas of our lives, including the education sector. But it also created for us opportunities for innovation. It taught us to think, to find new ways to solve our problems. One of such was an opportunity to leverage on the digitalization option it presented to us. Indeed, the pandemic gave us a rare opportunity to accelerate the adoption of digital technologies and shielded productivity. You will realize that as a forward-looking government, we seize the opportunity led by the...
All right, you're welcome back. So just in case you're lost on the videos that are being played or that we're airing, that's the Smart School policy with the ICT associated, which was launched yesterday. The tablets that were distributed to the students. Of course, issues have really arisen around those policies. We'll get into that later, but let me introduce Felix Kwatro-Fosu, who is former Deputy Communications Minister and also the NDC parliamentary candidate for Abrassebu Kwaman Kese constituency. You're welcome. Good morning to you.
Thank you.
Did you visit the constituency this week?
Oh, yes, I was there throughout the weekend, but I got back to Accra only yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How are they doing? What's going on there?
Oh, they are not immune from the suffering that the absolutely terrible governance of President Akufo-Addo and his sidekick Bawumia has unleashed on the people of Ghana. His sidekick Bawumia.
Okay.
Yeah, simply means his comrade in arms, his partner in crime.
Okay.
Yeah, they have unleashed unbearable hardships on the people of Ghana. And we are all suffering this. It is unprecedented. That is why I'm an extremely unhappy man this morning. Because in addition to the very bad governance, very, very bad governance, indeed some say useless governance, that this government has unleashed on all of us, they continue to disrespect us on a daily basis, from the president to his vice president to the energy minister, and all manner of people in this government who, quite frankly, have no business leading this country on the basis of what they've done to us. You have a president who decides to bury his head in the sand. And in spite of all the horrible problems in the education sector, he's still able to say that they have done more than anybody. But it's an absolute falsehood. And if you give me time, I can delve into specifics.
We'll get into that.
And then there is an energy minister who thinks that he can talk down to Ghanaians in spite of being such a poor performer. You know, he's superintended the near collapse of that sector. People are living in darkness. They are suffering from heat, unbearable heat, throughout the day. Now you arrogantly decide that simply because you don't want it to go on record that there is doomsday or we are having power outages, you will not put out a timetable. And then when you are asked about the timetable, you have the effrontery to tell those making that demand that they should go and put out their own timetable. So what in God's name is he doing there as minister? Why does he think that he is anything special? And that he got there by any extraordinary feat? What are his achievements in that sector? He is behaving like a pampered child whose tantrums are tolerated by his parents.
You haven't counted his awards that he has
What
received.
Awards? Please, I dismiss those jokes. You see, I don't have time for that kind of thing. What awards? In which serious country would the energy minister receive any award? For what? Plunging us into darkness. For plunging us into darkness and heat. For messing up the sector. Is that what people are rewarded for? Why you go and pay money to people who themselves do not clearly know what they are about? And they confer a man of dubious awards on you. You don't come and flaunt us in our face. The best award you can get as a public official is effective delivery that meets with the expectations of the people you are serving. That is the only award that people should be hankering after. So when you go and procure some awards that are completely meaningless, that do not even speak to the realities on the ground, I don't think that our time should be wasted. Look, what this government inherited, the sort of resources that they have come by, and the opportunities that were created for them, they should do far, far, far better than we are currently doing. If we in the NDC had a quarter of what they've had access to, this country will be in a much better position. You know, they say that a man is 2 years, say to wait. You see, the ailment that got the vulture to go bald would kill the hawk if it were infected. We are talking about a government that inherited excess capacity. They themselves have been at pains to tell us every single day that they inherited excess capacity. They had almost 1,500 more capacity than was readily required. But
I want you to hold on.
Yeah.
I'll get into that because I sitting here want to understand how we are where we are today. So I'll get you into that. But we're expecting Dr. Kabiru Mahama, who is also the technical advisor to the Office of the Vice President, and also the NPP parliamentary candidate for the Wale Wale constituency, running a little late. He will join us pretty shortly. But let me also remind you that if you are desperate of getting a toothpaste that will care for your family and save money, the recommended family toothpaste is a Kel 360 toothpaste approved by the Food and Drugs Authority. So the Kel 360 toothpaste provides your family with all-round dental protection throughout the day with freshness. And Kel 360 toothpaste is good for the kids, children, and adults. So let your family be proud, family, when you step out constantly by using the Kel 360 toothpaste. It also brightens the teeth and prevents cavity, which its cool mint gives you fresh breath throughout the day and protects the gum from decaying. The consistency and quality, if you want, you use Kel 360 toothpaste, and it's available on supermarkets, malls, and provision shops. Call Samara Company Limited on 0246 864798 0246 864798. Kel 360 toothpaste, happy smile. Lift and Elevators is also available, still ready to provide the service of installing the elevators in your home within 3 days. That will be done for you. So if the pains of climbing your stairs is giving you those challenges, you just want to use or contact the Lift and Elevators to give you a simple and self-supported elevator for both homes and offices, and it also lifts your goods as well. Lift and Elevators at Sakumono. It's located at Sakumono. You call them on 0200-535-515 or send them an email on liftandelevators@gmail.com for consultations and best solutions in vertical movements. Now, your Estate Masters is also giving you some 10% discounts. So Estate Masters Limited is giving you 10% discount on all their lands, right? All their lands. Their lands are located at Ningo Pram Pram, close to Central University, and Tripoli, close to the Saglami affordable housing. So it's starting from the 25,000 cedis and 12,500. Contact them on 0500-304-447 or 0593-803-180. Find them on social media. They are on Estate Masters. So at the Estate Masters, you find them all. The website is www.estatemasters.com. Right. So let's come to the issue. We'll start definitely with energy. And I think what Felix is referring to, let's play that interview, which was conducted by one of the journalists in the media houses. I think it was Joy FM. Yes. And the minister caught up with the minister at a program or at a function. And this is what he had to say.
Cuts. Some people are saying that you made mention of this. You use this as a campaign against John Mahama, and now we are experiencing a worse situation under President Akufo-Addo. Would it reflect in the 2024 election? Would it be something that people will stand on to vote?
If you are comparing 4 years, MPP administration, energy sector is 300 times better than John Mahama.
But we are still experiencing doom so.
Nobody has said we haven't. I'm just saying, it's far much better than John Mahama ever did.
You do admit that there's doom so?
That is the word you used. I have never used that word. I've promised you that we are going to work on it. And it's not a work that is a single event. It's a process. And we'll continue to work on it for the energy sector to become better.
Have you heard of calls for a timetable?
Ask those who want it to bring it.
They should bring the timetable.
If there is, I haven't seen any timetable. So when
people are calling for it,
say bring a timetable, what do you mean? The ECG says that there is no timetable coming. Why do you want to bring a timetable? What purpose? Why would somebody get up and wish evil or bad for the country? When it is not planned, you can't tell the person. Were you in Ghana under John Mahama? Did you live in this country under John Mahama? Did you live in this country under John Mahama? Did you? I'm asking you a question. Did you live in this?
It was equally worse.
It cannot be equally worse.
But look, MPP use it as a tool against them.
And I'm saying that even if you are talking about that, it was worse under John Mahama than ever now.
Energy sector, the current power cuts. Some people are saying that you made mention of this. You use this as a campaign against John Mahama, and now we are experiencing a worse situation under President Akufo-Addo. Would it reflect in the 2024 election? Would it be something that people will stand on to vote?
If you are comparing 4 years, MPP administration, energy sector is 300 times better than John Mahama.
But we are still experiencing doom so.
Nobody has said we haven't. I'm just saying, it's far much better than John Mahama ever did.
You do admit that there's doom so.
That is the word you used. I have never used that word. I've promised you that we are going to work on it. And it's not a work that is a single event. It's a process. And we'll continue to work on it for the energy sector to become better.
Have you heard of calls for a timetable?
Ask those who want it to bring it.
They should bring the timetable.
If there is, I haven't seen any timetable. So when
people are calling for
I
it.
say bring a timetable, what do you mean? The ECG says that there's no timetable coming. Why do you want to bring a timetable? What purpose? Why would somebody get up and wish evil or bad for the country? When it is not planned, you can't tell the person. Were you in Ghana under John Mahama? Did you live in this country under John Mahama? Did you live in this country under John Mahama? Did you? I'm asking a question. Did you live in this?
It was equally worse.
It cannot be equally worse.
MPP use it as a tool against them.
And I'm saying that even if you are talking about that, it was worse under John Mahama than ever now.
All right, so those of you who have been requesting for timetable, you're wishing evil for the country, basically. And why do you want to do that? Felix, why do you want to do that?
Why? First of all, when you are a service provider and people pay for your service, and yet on a regular basis, they are deprived of that service, it is clear, it is obvious that there's a problem, and that for a period of time, they are going to have to endure the difficulty, which is the power cuts. The reasonable thing to do is to put them on sufficient notice so that they can plan their lives. To begin with, there should not be doomsday in the first place, given what this government has inherited, given the resources that they've had. Mm-hmm. There should not be doomsday. There should not even be a day of doomsday under them, given what they've had. But once doomsday has emerged, they have a duty and responsibility, first of all, to be truthful to the people of Ghana, and then to help them through the difficult times by publishing a timetable that enables some form of planning so that you know how to structure your life around that difficulty. But when you have a situation where hopelessly incompetent people, square pegs who have been put in round holes, go and destroy a sector, mess it up, and the consequences are unleashed on us, and they even refuse to acknowledge the problem, and are even willing to go as far as insulting those making legitimate demands for some plan to what they are doing, then you know that the country has completely gone to the dogs. Now, when I say that there should not be a single day of doomsday, what I mean is that, you see, at least since the 80s, we've had difficulties with power generation. And therefore, around a 5 to 10 year cycle, we get this doomsday problem, which are basically intermittent power cuts. In 1984, we had power outages because the first signs of shortages emerged because of the prolonged droughts and the difficulties with the Akosombo Dam. We had to go through power rationing. In the late 90s, between 97 and 98, we had it again for about a year. Under President Kufuor, we had it again for over a year. Then under President Mahama, things came to a head. But he said that, look, previously, what we had attempted to do was to manage the situation so that we have it addressed in partial ways, only for it to recur. So this time round, I'm going to take a comprehensive view of the problem and address it comprehensively. And that is precisely what he did. By the time he left power, the deficit that we had, which is around 600 to 700 megawatts, had been bridged. Mm-hmm. By November of 2015, TICU, which is a plant that gives us about 340 megawatts of power, mm-hmm. and had been out of circulation for quite some time, had been brought back on stream. It had been fixed. Mm-hmm. So it brought 340 megawatts to the system. Then we brought in the car power batch, which gave us 250 megawatts. So essentially, the 700 megawatt deficit had been bridged. Mm. So on 24th December 2016, doomsday officially came to an end as a program that government had launched in order to address the power problem that we were facing. Then in early 2016, Ameri also came on stream Then a number of plants came on stream. By the time we left power, over 5,000 megawatts of power were either available or close to being available. So the deficit had been breached. President Mahama, for the visionary that he was aware that this excess power was going to be eaten into because of increasing demand. But at the very least, it ensured that the problem that existed in his time did no longer exist under this particular government. One of the other issues that was plaguing the sector was how to get regular fuel. To address that comprehensively, President Mahama established a gas plant. We spent close to $1 billion establishing that. It gives us 120 million standard cubic of gas production every day. Because of that, it has cut fuel importation down by about $300 million a day. President Mahama did not have this when he was in power. Then there was the issue of legacy debts. That is debts owed to various service providers in the sector, including IPPs, independent power producers, and bulk suppliers of fuel. To address this, President Mahama introduced ESLA somewhere in the middle of 2015. The NPP, which has become the biggest beneficiary of ESLA, was up in arms, led by Bawumia, casting aspersions on the NDC administration and calling us all manner of names.
During the creation?
Yes. Their MPs opposed it to the hilt in parliament, led by the likes of Kuku Kwati and Co. Yet when they came to power, they actually increased ESLA. So, per annum, since 2017, they received about 3.5 billion Ghana cedis every single year. If you multiply that by the 7 years they've been in power, we are talking close to 25 billion Ghana cedis. That's how much they've received. This should have been more. ESLA was supposed to last for 5 years. They extended it by 10 years. And so far, they've got about 25 billion. This amount should have been enough to address the problem of financing. In other words, debts owed to various players. But Annie, as I speak to you, the reason why we are having power cuts, which NAPO is arrogantly refusing to admit, is that they cannot buy fuel for the power plants. A few weeks ago, you saw that threat from the Asogli power plant to shut down. You have also seen WAPCO, the West African gas pipeline, shut down because of monies they are owed. And anytime that happens, they go and look for something small to give to them to appease them for that moment. And then a few weeks down the line, they will come back with their threats and shut down their plants. They cannot buy fuel. Look, the players in the sector know that every single day they receive a status update, a status report on the sector. Every single day there's indication that some of the plants do not have fuel. That is the reason why we are in this mess and we are sleeping in darkness. That is what they don't want to admit. But it is an open secret. Everybody knows it. At the very least, there's been public communication from the affected players that show that. What have they done with the 25 billion Ghana cedis? In 2017, they went to collateralize part of it to get a 4.6 billion Ghana cedi loan, which they said they were going to use to address the debt in the sector. 25 billion Ghana cedis after that.
Give me the reconciliation.
25 billion Ghana cedis after that. They are still owing. As I speak to you, they owe a colossal $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion. And if you multiply it by almost 14 cedis in terms of exchange rate, you are talking over 20 billion Ghana cedis. So they have received 25 billion Ghana cedis, squandered it, and yet they owe another 20 billion Ghana cedis. That is why the IPPs find it intolerable. Their operations are no longer sustainable, and that's why they are switching off their plants every now and then. And you and I are groping in the dark and sleeping in sweltering heat after all that they've had. John Mahama didn't have access to 25 billion Ghana cedis to pay anybody in the energy sector. And yet he did what he could to ramp up production. The arrogant Napo, who is insulting all of us, and Bawumia and Akufo-Addo, what have they added to the energy sector since they came to power? That would have sustained us up to this point.
What happened to the excess power?
It is there, but if the plants are there and you don't buy fuel, it's like having a nice vehicle and not being able to buy fuel. How are you going to? You can't push it, you can't carry it. So the plants are there. The problem we have is not because we have a shortfall in capacity to generate. There's a shortfall in generation because they simply don't have the money to buy fuel for the operators. That is all. When they have money, they go and give it to cronies. Cronies. Like Strat Oil. And pay them hundreds of millions of Ghana cedis a year. Compel the IPPs to buy fuel from them. So that money will line their pockets illicitly.
That's what's happening.
That's what they are doing. Why? When the finance minister was forced to publish how much they've spent under his so-called excess capacity payments, didn't you see that oil company that was formed in 2017 overnight by cronies of this government? When he sues them, then they will have arrangements like Gensa. Gas that is supposed to be sold at $6 per, what do you call it? $6. They sell it at $2 or $2.7 to them, so that they will make supernormal profits to line their pockets. Look, under the NDC, we brought what we call the cash waterfall mechanism. What it simply meant is that whatever money is accrued through the sale of electricity, it has to be distributed such that every player in a sector gets something to survive on. So ECG collects, or if government has to provide subsidies, it goes into a pot so that everybody gets some in that sector. This government is supposed to make a contribution in addition to what ECG collects. For 7 months, they have not been able to do so. So that cash waterfall mechanism is in limbo. Instead of $43 million a month, they are only able to pay $9 million a month. So this is a mess that instead of NAPO turning attention to and dealing with, he chooses to insult us arrogantly. And this is the person that Bawumia says he will make vice president. We relish that prospect. A person who doesn't understand that in public office, you are accountable to the people. The people have the right to demand better service. The people have the right to excoriate you if they think your performance is not up to scratch. So this government is a huge joke. This government is a huge joke. They are the worst that we've had. They have been a complete waste of our time. And I am sure that the people of Ghana have learned vital lessons from what has happened in the 8 years. And they will throw them out in the ignominy that they deserve to be thrown out for.
What's this thing I hear about ECG having about several accounts?
Well, that's
bank accounts.
You can lament that. But for me, the bottom line is that the energy sector is not being managed well. It is riddled with corruption, blatant stealing, cronyism, nepotism, incompetence, hopelessness. And rather than NAPO coming to display this level of arrogance, he should be wearing sackcloth and sitting in ashes and supplicating and apologizing profusely to the people of Ghana. Why? Does he think that he got there because he's good looking or what? Or people haven't seen a man who has a beard before? He must respect the people. The children who are sleeping in heat. Especially after all the heavy lifting that has been done for them. There's a government that hasn't contributed anything to that sector. Their only contribution is corruption and stealing. Dishing out undeserved contracts to their cronies. And when they finish, they will flaunt ill-gotten wealth in our face, as if they were some extraordinary people, when we all knew them before they came to power. But you see, why would NAPO not talk to us like that? When the man who appointed him himself is at the forefront of this kind of rhetoric. A chief in the Volta region demands completion of a school that the previous government started. The president told him to go and complete it himself. So when you hear NAPO saying that, you who are sleeping in darkness, go and draw your own timetable, where do you think he got his inspiration from? When you come to AAK, there's a branch, a place called Ahunfi. Our chairman of that branch has a very interesting proverb. He says, "Den chamna no po, ne basona no po."
Yeah, I heard that before.
The crocodile has a long snout, so its offspring also has a long snout. So when you hear NAPO speaking to us like that, you know where he draws inspiration from. If the whole president can go to the Volta region and tell people that they don't vote for him, yet he is here. If he can look the chiefs of a Kunfi in the face and tell them that because they voted out an NPP MP, he also decided to neglect them. Why won't an energy minister be embodied to talk like this? And then there is Bawumia, who, in spite of glaring economic difficulty, is able to stand on a platform and tell us that their government has a superior economic record. That is delusional talk. You see, the times that we are in and the kind of suffering that people are going through, the last thing we require is this kind of talk. You see clear economic catastrophe, and then you tell people that you are better. What does he take the people of Ghana for? Annie, he claims that the data shows. Annie, what data? How can a man lie to himself and the people of Ghana in this manner? In such a disrespectful manner. What data shows that they were better? Annie, is 2 bigger than 1? Annie, I'm asking you a question. When you see 2, is it bigger than 1? I'm asking, please answer me.
I don't know.
What I'm saying is that 2, is it bigger than 1? 2 is bigger than 1. So when somebody tells you 1 is bigger than 2, is he being truthful? This thing here, what is the color of this thing?
Red.
So if I tell you it is blue, am I sensible?
Is that what Dr. Bawumia is doing?
But what is he doing? And as I speak to you, only last week, the Bank of Ghana revealed that our end of year public debt was 610 billion Ghana cedis.
Yeah.
When he was, and in fact, incidentally, yesterday was exactly 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
After the MPP's Kwesi Yanka and Central University fabricated a so-called academic role for him to double in economic propaganda. And he did his lecture. Restoring the value of the city. It is exactly 10 years ago yesterday since he did that. Andy, I beg your pardon. Our public debt is 610 billion Ghana cedis. When he was holding those lectures, our debt was 120 billion Ghana cedis. Is 610 billion Ghana cedis better than 120 billion Ghana cedis? Which sane individual will make this argument? 610 billion, is it better than 120 billion Ghana cedis? At the time he was purporting to lecture us on the cedi and how to restore its value, the cedi was under 4 cedis to $1. In fact, that was 2014. It probably may have been around 3 cedis to $1. And today, it is 13.75 Ghana cedis. In November of 2023, it went to 17 cedis. Today, it is 13.75 Ghana cedis. Is Bawumia telling us that if you're a businessman and you have to go and exchange $1 at 13.75 billion Ghana cedis, 13.75 cedis, it is better than when you needed just 3 cedis for the same purpose? Is that what Bawumia is telling us? Which sane individual can make this argument? And when we were in power, John Mahama was paying and servicing debt regularly. He didn't keep anybody's 1 cedi. Bawumia, as head of the economic management team, he has told the whole world that we are bankrupt. You can't pay our debt. So officially, we have defaulted. And we took that decision unilaterally. Because of that, 1.3 million people who bought government bonds have been told to go and hang. 100 billion Ghana cedis that should have gone into paying them has been appropriated by this government under a so-called, debt restructuring mechanism. And I'm asking you a question again. And these are objective questions. If you are able to pay your debt, are you worse off than the person who cannot pay his debt? Or better still, if you cannot pay your debt, is it better than being able to pay your debt? Which sane person can make this argument? That if you can't pay your debt, it is better than being able to pay. Which sane person can make that argument?
The reason why they make those arguments are the factors that they always
What factors?
That led us
What
into
factors?
where we are today.
What factors are they talking about? Was the IMF boss not in Ghana only last week? Did she not assert that it was reckless election-related expenditure that caused the problem? And have we not been saying this for the longest time? And you also have a video of Bawumia where we had a B- credit rating. He said we were incompetent. And I beg, B-, is it worse than default? Or in other words, if you default on your loans, are you better than having a B- credit rating? Which sane person can sustain this argument? Look, when Bawumia again, during those lectures, one of the things he did was that he sought to calculate what he claims was the total resource envelope accruing to the NDC. He added all our tax and non-tax revenue. And then he added the increase in our debt and said that in the 8-year span we were in power, we had access to 248 billion. And if you did the same analysis today, and indeed, 2 weeks ago, the minority that did it in Parliament, They have had 925 billion Ghana cedis. That's how much resources they've had. Using Bawumia's own standard. Interest rates, when we were in power, were a little above 20%. Today, it is inching towards 40%. Is Bawumia telling the businessman that a 40% interest rate is better than a 20% interest rate? Which sane person can sustain this argument? Our what do you call it? Unemployment rate in 2016 it was 8%. Only last month, the Statistical Service revealed that it had crossed 14%. So if you have 14% of your population or population within the working bracket unemployed, is it better than 8% not being unemployed? Which sane person can sustain this argument? So please, it is bad enough that they have destroyed our country. It is bad enough that they have offered completely useless governance in the last 8 years. But the last thing we should be tolerating is this insulting behavior. Why? I was in government. Annie, you know the FIADC, what he said?
Yeah.
You remember the FIADC incident? And I'm using that to illustrate the difference in standards of governance. That man was at a public function when somebody showed rudeness to him. So on the spur of the moment, he responded a certain way. It was innocuous. I don't think that matter was of any serious input. Look, the following morning, I was at the Flagstaff House when the man was summoned and given a stern warning. Some of us even tried to intervene. But the authorities, President Mahama, insisted that he will censure the man. The man made a mistake of broaching the subject again in an interview. He fired him immediately. And here's a man who was not responsible for putting anybody in darkness. I'm talking about the PRDC.
He was summoned?
He was summoned and cautioned the first time he made the statement. Okay. A few weeks after that, he went on radio and sought to justify that statement. He was dismissed immediately after that interview because President Mahama felt that public officials must be sensitive to the plight and aspirations and sensibilities of the people that we govern. But here's an energy minister. He probably will receive a pat on his back from President Akufo-Addo for talking to us this way. So they have been abysmal. The very worst government we've had. And on top of that, they choose to insult us. But it is a cautionary tale to all of us who also are voters, that when we get the opportunity to select leaders, we need to look through it carefully, so that we don't go and elect incompetent people who will insult us on top and tell us that we should go and publish our own timetable.
Right.
When they were campaigning in 2016 and attacking the government of the day, and the people of Ghana were agreeing with them, could they have told the people of Ghana to go and publish their own timetable?
Right.
So please, enough of the disrespect.
Let's move to Wale Wale constituency. The man responsible, or to be responsible soon. Or how should I put this? Possibly. Possibly.
It's possible.
You're welcome.
Because anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Good morning to Mr. Felix.
Why are we attributing power crisis to doom? So I mean, what do you call it? The excuse you came up with, ECG came up with, generators. What did they say?
So let me. I will address that.
Why are we attributing that to doom? So?
Let me say good morning to my cherished, our cherished listeners and viewers. And then, let me just apologize for coming in late. I think it over the time I usually take to come here. Usual traffic on the Olusegun Obasanjo Highway towards the Kanda Highway. But whilst I was in the car, I tried to listen.
Oh, okay.
To the discussion, and I'm sure I did not miss any of the submission.
It means you saw the video we played of the
I
energy
saw the
minister.
video, the education minister first, then followed by the president. The video of the energy minister when he was being interviewed. You played it actually twice.
The energy minister?
The energy minister's statement.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the first
maybe
one.
your producer will help you. So, but on the more substantive issue, you see, we are talking about DUMSO. We are talking about a situation where we have intermittent power outages, and DUMSO has become part of our Ghanaian lexicons. In fact, part of our. It has even gained international recognition as a term used in Ghana to refer to a situation where we have intermittent, irregular, and then unplanned power outages. And to that extent, either way.
It's in a dictionary now, right?
Anytime. I'm not sure, but I don't know whether it is a Ghanaian dictionary, but I'm not sure whether it is a global dictionary. But what I do know is that Wikipedia, which is a global,
has captured it. Okay.
Global source of information, has captured this term. Now, we do admit that there are power challenges currently. We do also admit that power go out. There are outages unplanned. We do also admit that to the extent that Ghanaian people or the public are paying for such a services, we must have predictable, reliable, and regular supply of power. And as a government, we have to acknowledge and work assiduously to, addressing such a situation. But when government is facing a challenge, let's address the challenge and discard the challenge in absolute terms. When the journalist asked the Honorable Minister for Energy, the journalist forced the Minister for Energy to do a comparison.
And come out the way he did.
Yes, he forced the minister to do a comparison. And if I were in his shoes, I would be forced to tell you that what we are having is far, 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 far better than what we experienced under Mr. John Dramani Mahama.
So hold on. Let's analyze the journalist question. In fact, I also focused on the question, maybe because I'm a journalist. When he asked the question, he said, your situation, you criticized the previous administration for the situation that we're in now, which seems to be worse than the former administration. If I'm a journalist, I'm asking that question, I would deem that question a good question, because if someone was giving a reason for a DUMSO situation as classifying the reasons as debts, generational challenges, and what else? Fellas, if you can remind me, some of the issues that got us into the DUMSO situation. We had
legacy
debts.
We had legacy debts. There were problems
shortage
with fuel.
in generation,
there was generational
fuel.
exactly.
Right. Now, and today, what we are alluding to is the fact that we have transformers challenge. Then your situation is worse.
So if you describe a situation where someone had 24 hours of outages to a situation where someone probably has 6 hours, 2 hours, 5 hours of power, and you compare that and say this situation is worse, then I wonder the basis for comparison. I wonder the metrics you are using. Okay, so if a journalist asks me such a question, I shudder to think whether the journalist was in this country. So my response will be similar to what the minister gave him. Because I will be wondering whether you were in this country where we had a system for the first time, never happened even in 2001, when we had the first speak of DUMSO in the 21st century.
So the matrices I'm using are the factors that are causing the DUMSO.
I'll come to the factor. Yes. I'll come to the factor. Where in 2001, we had a DUMSO situation occasioned by the significant drops in the water levels in Akosombo. The situation temporarily was addressed by 2008, and we onboarded Bui Dam, which added some 500 megawatt to the power generation. And even at that time, I hear the explanation being proffered that it had to do generation problem. Far from it. As of 2015, we have about 3,700 megawatt capacity. Our peak demand was 1,700. So even 2015, the situation was not about generation. And the Vice President clearly and articulated that the issue is not about generation. The issue is not about capacity. The issue was a financial problem. Okay, your ability to pay, even at the time, the proffered solution as some breakages in the pipes guideline occasioned by some ships that were moving. All those explanations were given. But currently, we are having a situation where the Electricity Company of Ghana has come to explain, time with that number, that what we are facing is not a financial problem. What we are facing has to do with technical problem that has to do with some blown fuses of transformers, which do occur because there are the load on them. They're supposed to be planned maintenance. For one reason or other, that maintenance problem was not done. That occasioned that particular breakdown of transformers, occasioning power outages. That explanation has been provided. But people can go to attribute reasons of financial problems since the start of, and even lied on set that Crashwater mechanism was started by them. It's a probable lie. This started in 2020, not even in 2017. Okay.
The waterfall mechanism.
The waterfall mechanism began in 2020. Okay?
Oh.
Tell me when it was. If you are saying, give me the time.
Don't worry, go ahead.
No, I'm not going. I just
go ahead.
You impugn doubt.
You said it started in 2020.
You impugn doubt. Okay. It couldn't be true that they started it. Okay. So when you have a problem, the NPP government realizing that financial problem in the energy sector in terms of payment of independent power producers buying fuel to power your plants has been a generational or legacy problem. The waterfall mechanism was instituted to address part of the problem. But the performance of that particular measure is dependent on the inflow from service users. Okay? We have a system that is even being led by the Vice President, said that even when collection is far less than the expected amount to be paid to independent power producers, the government of Ghana will come in to avoid doom solicitation. Okay, so that is what this government has done and has kept us out of darkness for at least 6 years. That is on record. That for their government, for the longest time in the history, these people slept in darkness for nearly 4 years. So any person, any sane mind, any objective analyst of this such a situation will not want to. In fact, we have a situation where people lost their lives as a result of fumes coming from generators they were using. In this country, we've not experienced such. Not single life loss has been attributed to Dumsor as we see today. And someone will sit down and
but
say,
life has been lost, attributed to other.
I'm saying that ISA even did a research in 2014 and stated that in 2014 alone, 1 billion loss to the economy was occasioned by Dumsor. Just in 2014.
You mean 1 billion?
1 billion USA dollars loss.
Okay.
So no, you cannot even in any stretch of imagination try to, equate the situation we have today to the situation we had in 2014, 2015.
Do we have a debt crisis today in the energy sector?
I'll address that. I'll address that. We have issue of revenue collection, and that issue is cascading into the payment of independent power producers. That is a fact. That we are still having payment of independent power producer in arrears, which didn't even start today.
Why is the cash waterfall mechanism not helping? Why is it not?
It's not helping.
Why has it been abandoned?
Because we still have a situation where we need to chase people to pay for the electricity they consume. We have a situation where the EC boss had to go and disconnect people for non-payment of for electricity. And when that comes up, he doesn't even gain the sympathy of the Ghanaian people. He's lambasted on top of it. Okay. So when you have such a situation and we bury our heads.
No, he's not. It's not true that he's been chasing us for money and we lambast him for that. That is not true. That's not factual. Because he's not the only ECG boss who has been disconnecting. In fact, disconnection started from Adam, like Kufuor would say. Is that not true?
But disconnection didn't start. Can I make the point?
It is comments that he makes when he gets the opportunity to speak to us. It's not the disconnection.
The ECG boss is working. He's gone to do, for the first time, has put even government institutions on their toe and has reminded them time without number of their responsibility to the country in terms of payment of electricity. He has not made any comment that suggests that he's not being sensitive to the plight of Ghanaian people. The only comment that came on the back of all this was an even about a year ago comment, which we discussed on this same platform, where people some people in the eastern region were not paying for power. And when they were demanding payment, they rose up to demonstrate, asking for free power, usage of power for free. And that was the point he made the comment that people should realize that electricity is not a privilege. You have to pay for it. That was the context of that comment. But in the midst of this crisis, journalists went and took that comment, a comment that was made a year ago, a time that we didn't even have the Dumsor, playing now and lambasting him. Okay, so we cannot be on one breath be having problem with people who work to ensuring that we have stability in the power sector and at the same time blaming them. I will even come to the point he mentioned about Ameri. And he said this government is interested in only corrupt activities, paying their cronies, mentioning names of companies that Ameri deal has been on record as one of the biggest scandal of the energy sector in the country.
Scandal?
Yes, about 150 million padded to the contract of over 500 million Ameri deal.
And what did you do to it?
I'll come to tell you what we did to address it. And the renegotiation of the power agreement has saved this country about $13.2 million.
How do you renegotiate a scandal?
So let me tell you
a scandalous deal. How do you renegotiate that?
Look, when you go into an agreement, and the agreement is based on take or pay, and you are per unit or per kilowatt billing, it's around 16 to 20 United States cents per kilowatt of power. That is a clearly pattern, but because of freedoms of contract, basic trial learning in contract will tell you freedom of contract once entered freely without duress. Okay, you can't set aside such a contract. You have to renegotiate.
You have been compromised.
Who has been compromised?
You.
How is the government?
Without setting aside the contracts and renegotiation.
How is it compromised? How is the government compromised?
You have been compromised.
How is the government compromised?
How do you describe a deal as scandalous, yet you renegotiate it and say, well, the terms and conditions in it did not allow you to set it aside?
Terms and conditions will not allow you. And if you avert your mind to the provisions of any contract, an abrogation of contract will come with damages. Damages that will even may far exceed the renegotiation. So a prudent government will go for renegotiation, then the termination of that contract.
Wow.
A prudent government will go for renegotiation of the contract, then a termination of that contract. You don't go terminating a contract with all those clauses on damages payment and also probably interest accruing thereof, and you say that a government should go and terminate it because it's been, bedridden with corruption. You don't expect the government to do that. The government will highlight the ills of that contract and go ahead to do the rational thing that will save the country some money. And that was exactly what the government did. So you cannot say the government is being compromised by that decision the government took. Now, he went further to note that, in fact, he did a very good job of giving us a history of Dumsor since the 1990s. 1984, right? So since the 1980s to now. And when it came to John Mahama's era, he was economical with the fact that he said that Dumsor for about a year. Nana Akufo the Dumsor for about a year.
I never said that.
Okay, so don't go, you didn't say that. So on record, they had the longest period of Dumsor in the whole history of since the 1980s. Such a government and operatives and actors, people who were part and parcel, integral part of that government, now sitting down to tell us that this government is clueless, this government is incompetent, Mr. Napo should not be aspiring to even be a leader, and where systems work, he should be burying his head in shame. Such comments should not be expected, and we will not tolerate such comments from the NDC government. And again, I've always said that if the Ghanaian people do make such comments, it is sensitive for us to listen to them and to, appreciate that they have genuine concern we are trying to address. But do not go to the realm of comparison of records. Once you do that, you are forcing the government to tell you your own record on the face. And he went ahead to talk about economic record, to say that this government is so arrogant and the vice president will still look their names on the face and say that the government has performed better. And he mentioned several, and even again lied that interest rates are around 40%. On this set, you didn't even, I don't know whether you don't also have the right figures. You didn't even correct that. When he went about mentioning all these figures, well, I don't even know. Can we say, Felix, show us where he got that 40% interest rate from. And when we are doing comparison, okay, it's okay for people to tell us that let's do current, but when we're going to do current, are we going to compare it against your 10 as of today, a year ago, under your 10? That would be the basis for comparison. You cannot compare current figures with your any year figure. You cannot, I don't even know where we will go into such comparison. But if you want us to do comparison, let us define the metrics. Are we going by averages for all our tenure? Then we'll do the comparison. We're waiting for that debate. Are we going for end of tenure records, such that when you were leaving office, what was the inflation rate? What was the exchange rate? What was the depreciation?
But you can't do that now.
We've been doing that, and we presented that, and I've told you, and I can repeat that interest rate as at their term, when their average was worse than the average of the New Patriotic Party. New Patriotic Party
interest rate in 2017 was what?
I'm talking about interest rate for average. You cannot ask me interest rate for 2017 when
why do you want to use average?
I'm saying that you are asking me to do analysis, and I'm giving the basis for the analysis.
You are picking and choosing how it will please you. Why average?
I have asked you, if you take your time, I have asked you, if you want to do analysis, let's define the metrics. Are we doing it based on average? Are we doing it based on end period? I mentioned it here. And you asked me to do the analysis. So you cannot say that I'm choosing.
So you're choosing the average analysis.
So that I'm saying that let's do end period. And if you are going to do end period, then you wait till December of this government. Or we are going to compare now to, March of their period in 2000 and 2016. That is the basis for comparison. You cannot compare apples with oranges. So you don't do an analysis that is not bound on basis that has no common denominator. That is the point I'm trying to, and that's why I've been trying strenuously to educate that we don't do comparison based on you are choosing and picking. We must have a common denominator.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the point I have been trying to explain. So if you want us to do analysis based on end period, we are willing. If you are trying to do analysis based on averages, we are willing. But we are clear in our mind and fortified in saying that the records of the MPP, when it comes to the economy, far better than the records of the NDC when it comes to the management of the economy. We admit 15 Ghana cedi, 13 Ghana cedi to $1. A lay person will say that it is bad. Yes, true, it is bad. Because something that was 4 Ghana cedi, it is 15 Ghana cedi. You cannot say it's not bad. But at the rate, at the speed with which you deteriorated the cedi, if we had left it to you, you have been doing 20 Ghana cedi now. That is the analysis that we do. Because you cannot tell me that when someone is recovering at a rate of 10%, and your recovery was at the rate of 1%, the person who's recovering at the rate of 10% is not doing better than the 1%. You cannot tell me that. Even though they have been slowed down, or we are slow in the recovery, but you cannot tell me that such a person is not better than you. You cannot tell me that a government that has created more jobs than you, and one breath you are doing absolute figures. When it comes to inflation, when it comes to exchange rate, he's doing absolute figures. But when it comes to, unemployment, he's quick to go to percentages, saying the government did 14%. But why is it not using the absolute figures of jobs that has been created? That tells you that when you want to do analysis, the basis for analysis should be percentages, should be averages. In his own submission, he goes to say, unemployment is 14%, that is the worst. But he's not telling us that this government has even created more jobs. You cannot say a government that has created 2 million jobs, as compared to a government that created less than 1 million jobs, is not doing better than you. On the same measure, on the same yardstick, on the same foundation he set, he laid down. Okay? So you don't make such assumption. Now, he also mentioned that this government has defaulted. True. The government has gone into negotiated default. True. The government, on the back of the debt exchange program, has started to have debt standstill. True. But it is not true that this government, they claim, is bankrupt. It's the first time we are doing default. Under John Mahama, we defaulted in the payment of AFDB loan. We defaulted, even without any crisis. So you cannot sit on national platform, create the sense that, this is the first time a government is defaulting in the payment. The difference even that this one, it is acknowledged that there's a problem. This one, we have acknowledged that we needed to do a settlement. This one, we've acknowledged that based on the unsustainable nature of our public debt, we needed to do a debt standstill. But we wake up one day to a default. And you say such an economy was not also bankrupt. If the basis for analysis of a bankrupt economy is default, then they're under their watch. The economy collapsed. So we have to be fair and truthful to the facts.
Do you know what I'm thinking? The school of thought in my head right now.
I can't tell what is in your mind unless you tell me.
This one is a school of thought because a doctor has established it. So I've taken it as a school of thought. That when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. But when you see the exchange rate moves, it does not necessarily mean the fundamentals are weak. That is the school of thought you're applying to the analysis you're making.
So what is wrong with that school of thought?
Anyway, I expect you to agree.
No, I'm asking. Unless of course, it's not the expectation. You have to tell me what is wrong with that analysis. Then that will be the. You cannot impugn.
No, but I can't. This is your debate, and I cannot tell you that you are wrong.
It is my debate. Right. If you agree it's my debate, then you are already impugning. I mentioned figures that you are impugning.
No, I challenge you to bring the distance. Because what you are saying.
I challenge you to bring the contra figures.
I'm trying to reconcile in my head. Yeah. And that is a school of thought that I'm settled on.
Yeah, and I'm telling you that school of thought, unless you tell me that there are deficiencies in any school of thought.
I'm not saying that.
I am telling you, and I'm telling you that there are deficiencies in any school of thought propounded. And there are counter-argument or criticism of that school of thought. It is for you. The cogency of your argument counter to that school of thought is going to be that is going to persuade you. I take that view.
I'm not even preparing to counter.
Yeah, so that is the but if
I'm
you are
only
not
trying to agree with you.
If you are not willing to counter, then
I'm not countering.
The school of thought stands as it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, so my view on this whole issue about energy sector and about economy is that look, we shouldn't wake up in a day and present a picture that this country under Mr. Nana Akufo-Addo, under John Mahama, there are no vast difference between the two. However, I'll be the first person to acknowledge that we are having some challenges. Those challenges notwithstanding, government is committed to solving those challenges. I'll be the last person to note that Ghana unemployment rate is not a problem. There are graduates on the streets of Accra, there are graduates across the country who are still looking for jobs to do. I'll be very insensitive to them to say that it is not an issue. But I will not also countenance a government that told us that graduates are lazy and that they could go into the fetching of grass to sell. I cannot take lessons from such a government. Okay? I'll be very insensitive to say that there are no problems in the education sector. But equally, I will be very, very incisive to admit and to agree with the government that told us that to help if there are no chalks in the classroom.
But Energy Minister told us something yesterday. The Energy Minister said the same thing yesterday.
The Energy Minister, what did he say?
He said we should provide our own timetable.
No, the Energy Minister...
The same thing you're saying.
The Energy Minister, you said that they were doomsday, and the Energy Minister said there is no doomsday.
So
and once you insist that an event exists, when the person tells you there's no such event, then the better response for the person to say, then if you think it exists, then you have to provide. Because I am the one managing it, and I'm telling you that what you think exists doesn't exist.
So I, who lives in my house, forget all the technical things we're talking about, the generation plans, the distribution, the debt problem, whatever. Forget it. The grandmother in my house, seeing the power, the light go off and on, does not know that, oh, there seems to be a doom and so. Is that what you're saying?
So let me tell you.
The point you just made now, are you saying that the Energy Minister is telling us that we don't even know, we are, excuse my word, now blind, that we cannot see if the light goes off or on.
Honey, when was the last time your lights went off?
Yesterday.
In all sincerity.
Yesterday.
For how many hours?
For, I think, before I went home. So it came back around 10, 11 midnight.
So you don't know the time it went off?
No.
Went to...
But I got home by 4:40 something. So it means that it had been off probably some hours before I got home.
No, we don't know. Let's assume that you didn't know.
Okay, let's assume. Let's assume. Hold on. Let's assume that it went off at 4 because I got home at 4 something. Mm-hmm. So it went off at 4. Mm-hmm. It came back around 11 something. Yeah. How many hours? And if it's a transformer crisis, why can't ECG give me timetable? Even PURC has communicated to ECG, because if it's transformer problem, it should be easy for you to give us timetable. For transformer problem, it's not death, it's not generational,
if you don't know which transformer is going to blow at what time, how am I able to give it?
So now transformers are just blowing anyhow.
No, you are asking hypothetical questions.
No,
and I'm putting the hypothetical question to you that you plan for something that you have predictability on. Something that you can cogently say that this event is likely to occur at this particular time. That is what you plan for. If you are not able to tell, how do you plan for such? So we don't ask for something that is a bit far-fetched. Okay, you don't ask for something that is far-fetched. You ask for something that you can place your hand on. Let's give the ministry the benefit of that. Let us also ask the ministry for solution.
Okay.
It is only proper and fair. For me, people asking for the minister to ensure that we have stability in power, they are right. It is within their right to ask. I equally support that. Okay, I'm a Ghanaian. If I have my light going out, the inconvenience is also to my disadvantage. Okay, I will support that. But I will not also support a system where people would want us to think that what is happening now is never happened before, and that even if the MPP used Dumso as a campaign, okay, we have no bragging right over the NDC over Dumso.
Oh, nobody has said that.
The point that Napo, in the interview, the gentleman said that you use the same thing. And he said, his reply was that, yes, even if the MPP use it, it is still better than the NDC had.
Okay. I am being pressured to take a breather, so let me take that, and then we will come back, round it up, and then we'll talk about smart schools. We'll be back shortly. All right, you're welcome back to the program. We're still on Good Morning Ghana, and I still have Dr. Kabir Mahama with me, who is a technical advisor to VIP, and also the MPP parliamentary candidate for the Wale Wale constituency, also former Deputy Communications Minister, and the NDC parliamentary candidate for Abra Asebu constituency, Felix.
Abra Asebu
Kwamankese. Yes, Abra Asebu Kwamankese constituency. Felix Kwachofoso also still with me. But before we go on, let me just quickly do this. Okay. So, what does wealth mean to you? Do you want to live like a tycoon? Remember, Who's Got the Mullah Got the Power, and Ghana's newest lottery game draws live at Adom TV, 9 a.m., 12 p.m., and 6 p.m. daily. So pick up your phones and tablets and computers. Download the Game Park Game app on Play Store. You can also play on the website is gameparkgames.com, or dial star 946 hash on all networks. So choose from the numbers from 0 to 9. It's easy to play and easy to win. So make some Mula, and nobody beats our odds in Ghana. It's a Game Park Games, more Mula, more power. This game is regulated by the National Lottery Authority. Not for persons under 18, please, not for persons under 18. And also, Ayesoko, the Akosomo Dam, it's big, but Betway Cash, it's big, guy says. Betway giving you more control over every thrilling bet you place. Enjoy the biggest and the most reliable cash out Ghana on Betway without any hassle. Sign up today on betway.com.gh. And also, it's not for persons under 18 and regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Blue Jeans energy drink has been on the market for over 20 years. We already know what it does for the body. It contains vitamins B2, B3, B6, B12, as well as Storin and Guarana, and which is known to boost your strength and energy as well as promote high performance and endurance. So Blue Jeans energy drink has been tested and also is the best on the market. If you want to buy in bulk, purchase them from Budget Cash and Carry Limited on 0208 128 190 or 055 001 000, and that's for Blue Jeans energy drink. Felix, you wanted to make some intervention quickly before.
You have quite some time, so let's delve into the matters. I've listened in astonishment to my brother as he has attempted to defend the indefensible. Even where the facts are glaring, he seeks to offer some defense, albeit very, very, very weakly. You know, let me place it on record. Let me get this out of the way. Ghana never defaulted under President Mahama in terms of loan prepayments. What had happened was that Bawumia, in usual fashion, went out and peddled an untruth. And this was in March 2015, that we had defaulted to the AFDB.
The AFDB.
That same day, the AFDB issued a statement signed by their communications director, Joel Kibazo. Let me read it to you. 25th March 2015. Our attention has been drawn to a press report that Ghana is under sanctions with the African Development Bank, and you go under sanctions if you default. We wish to state that Ghana is current on all its obligations with the AFDB. Accordingly, Ghana is not on the list of countries under sanctions by the AFDB. Signed, Joel Kibazo, Director of Communications. So it was Bawumia who started that lie, which my brother here has sought to repeat. But this is the official position. It was AFDB that we were owing.
So they
and we went to
responded.
Pay. Absolutely.
Okay.
The attempt to even compare this falsehood that Bawumia peddled with the catastrophic debt default that has affected 1.3 million Ghanaians. As I speak to you, they are still locked up in negotiations with external creditors. But 1.3 million Ghanaians, including pensioners, have had their payments, which they subsist on, withheld because this government cannot pay. They are broke and they have bankrupted the economy. How do you even seek to compare this with a lie that Bawumia told in 2015, which was promptly dismissed by the AFDB? And you see, that is why I speak about insensitivity. They are failure to realize that as public officials, they must be sensitive to the plight. You don't plunge the people into this sort of suffering and lie on top and disrespect them on top and deny the very obvious. Anybody who tells you that our economic situation now is better than it was under the NDC is being ridiculous. He's being delusional. That's why I pose the question that which sane person can make this argument? He said that now we should conduct analysis in averages. And when you go to the Forex Bureau, today if you want $1, you will pay 13.75 cedis. They will not ask you to pay 2% depreciation over the previous period. If you're a businessman and you are importing, whereas you used to pay under 4 cedis under John Mahama, today you will pay 13.75 cedis for the same service that you were receiving. So let him not think that they can insult Ghanaians and gaslight us by claiming that we should do average calculation. He also says that we should do end period comparison. Right, Annie? The figures I gave you was for end period 2023. It is the Bank of Ghana that only last week came out and said that our debt as of end period 2023 was 610 billion Ghana cedis. You compare it to end period 2016, which was 120 billion Ghana cedis, and he said we shouldn't do. So what should we do? I have not even added what they've borrowed in the last 3 months of this year. And in fact, Annie, do you know that even the 610 billion figure, because of the depreciation of the cedi since the beginning of this year, that figure has gone up by about 60 billion Ghana cedis. So what do they take us for? You want us to do averages. Which businessman goes to import items with average depreciation? Or when you want some forex to transact some business, do you pay averages or you pay the exact amount, the absolute figure? When you go to the bank or the forex bureau and they are displaying the rates, do they display it in percentages or display it in absolute figures? So what is wrong with citing the absolute figures in the analysis? Number 2, the cash waterfall mechanism came into being in 2016, not 2020. The payments were coordinated by the then Deputy Energy Minister, John Jinapor. That too is a lie. And since August 2023, this government has not paid a dime.
Maybe there was a different cash waterfall mechanism that was...
It is not different. It simply means that when some money comes, it is shared so that everybody in the chain, in the value chain in the energy sector, gets something.
That maybe there was something...
It was we who set it up in 2016 as one of the ways to address the bottlenecks that have to do with debts. Number 3, let me come to Ameri. It is obvious that my brother is in a government that he is not abreast of in terms of their goings on. If he was, he wouldn't even broach the story of Ameri. That Ameri thing was a lie. A company came to do a build, operate, transfer. If you go to buy the turbines off the shelf, it will cost $210 million off the shelf. But the turbines itself won't give you anything until you install it and operate it. So the company did a build. They went to buy it with their own money, came to operate it for 5 years. The total outlay was $540 million. There was no corruption. And you know why there was no corruption? Because nobody took anything. In fact, you should read the report the Attorney General sent to the committee chaired by Boakye Jaku, who took the matter to him to review. At the time, it was Gloria Akufu.
Gloria Akufu, yeah.
She was express that the only basis upon which she could terminate that agreement was to find evidence of corruption, but she couldn't find any. So if he sits here and tells you that there was corruption in America, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He should engage those who know. They engage in rhetoric. In fact, Ameri, who they say was corrupt, actually paid for the stay of the committee chaired by, I think it was Philip Addison, rather, to go to Dubai for several weeks to go and investigate them. Ameri, they paid for their trip. When they came back, they found nothing. That is why they could not do anything to anybody. As I speak to you, they've taken people to court over very flimsy matters. Very, very flimsy matters. And if you think that the NDC stole $540 million, they will leave people to walk about.
What are the matters?
Did they not go and arrest the likes of Kwabena Donkor? Did they not raid the house of Kwabena Donkor and George Napo and go over this American? Did they do anything to those people? The Attorney General was express that there was no corruption. In fact, the only corruption in Ameri was orchestrated by President Akufo-Addo himself. When he attempted that novation deal, remember? When he caused the secretary to write to Parliament, saying that they were now going to engage in a deal worth $1 billion. Meanwhile, after 5 years, we were going to pay only $1 to take possession of that plant. That's the plant that they intend to send to Kumasi. Yet, in spite of that, they wanted to extend it by 10 years and pay $1 billion to cronies. Was the president not forced to capitulate on this? They did not come and tell us rather comically that he didn't know about it. And that, in fact, that was the first time that I am not aware became a balance in this government. Yeah. You remember that? Yeah. So please go and learn your history very well before you come and engage in conceding own goals. When you mention Ameri, Akufo-Addo's corruption is written all over it, and it is documented. Number 4, he says that unemployment, and when I mentioned the 14% unemployment rate, I shouldn't use that. In one breath, I should use averages for exchange rate, but I shouldn't use average percentages. I didn't interrupt you. Yeah, I shouldn't use percentages. Yeah. Look, there's no sane person in this world who can tell me that an unemployment rate of 14% is better than 8%. No sane mind can make that argument. Anybody who says that must have his mind or brain examined today. It is the worst unemployment rate in living memory in Ghana. Youth unemployment alone is over 32%. Then they quickly shift the goalposts and go and say they have created more jobs. That is a flat lie led by Bawumia again, and I will demonstrate it to you. Look, in February 2021, the Minister for Employment, who actually has jurisdiction over that sector, was in Parliament to be vetted. He claimed that they had employed 3 million people. And this was at his vetting. He had been employment minister the previous 4 years and had been retained. So he was speaking on authority as a minister for employment. Then, in the same minister, on 1st September 2022, claimed that they had created 5.3 million jobs. The same employment minister. Just 1 year down the line, he claimed they had created 5.3 million jobs. Now, on 27th April 2023, Bawumia again claimed that they had created 2.55 million jobs. 2.55 million jobs. That's how many jobs Bawumia claimed they have said. Meanwhile, his employment minister, only a year earlier, had claimed that they had created 5.3 million jobs. Then on 7th February, when he did his so-called policy speech, which nobody remembers apart from the fact that he claimed it was a myth, Bawumia again claimed they had created 2.1 million jobs.
And decreased.
So look at, so it goes up, decreases, goes up, decreases based on who is speaking. This immediately tells you that they are lying. They are fabricating figures. But what makes it even worse is that you see there's a body that collates these figures scientifically, which is the Ghana Statistical Service. In 2012, they did what they call the Ghana Living Standard Survey. If you check page 89 of their report, they reported that they had counted people who were unemployed, done a head count, and it was a total of 1,027,000 people. Look, if this government creates 2 million jobs, we will actually have underemployment in Ghana.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that we will need actually to import people.
Right.
I beg your pardon. We will need to import people from Cote d'Ivoire and elsewhere to fill the vacancies. Now, only in 2021, just 3 years ago, the Ghana Statistical Service again did a population census. They counted 1,551,000 unemployed people. If Bawumia says that in that period they had created 2.1 million jobs, they will swallow all this figure. In fact, Ghana Statistical Service again, only a few months ago, I think last month, said that between 2022 and 2023 alone, 550,000 people fell out of employment. And then when you listen to them, they say, oh, they have created about 1.2 million, but the private sector has created 900 million. Meanwhile, the Senate boss has debunked that. In fact, the Fourth Estate, they've done a fact check. And it shows that what they are saying is completely false. The job they've created will not exceed 300,000. Because if you check the budget, you see they report on this.
But that's what the Fourth Estate is saying. You're comparing.
No. Look, the job it is not. Listen. If you check the budget, if you check the appendices, every single year, the finance minister reports on how many people are on government's payroll they are going to employ in all the sectors and agencies. Because ministries are made up of departments and agencies, so they add all of it up and they report. It won't exceed 300,000. If you did that, and I've taken time to do the analysis between 2017 and now. So they should stop lying.
Right.
The other issue too.
Quickly.
The other issue too, that we in the NDC do not have a right to speak about Dumsor. Where do they get that audacity from? That Ghanaians can complain, but we in the NDC we can't complain. We are Togolese, or we come from Mongolia. When the lights go off, it doesn't affect us because the light skips us. It only affects Ghanaians. But we come from Mongolia. We come from Azerbaijan. We come from Papua New Guinea, so we can't talk. When you and your flag bearer and Bawumia were all over the place waxing lyrical, holding yourselves out like peacocks and commenting on Dumsor, were you more Ghanaian than us? And you see, if you put the discussion in context, I have said that we don't even deserve 1 minute of Dumsor under the MPP. Because of their posture. If you condemn me for a supposed wrong, you are not allowed to even go near that wrong. It is a principle that if you don't understand, you don't have a business being in government. You must be thrown out at the earliest opportunity. If you condemn me, if I condemn you for a wrong, I cannot even say that I did a bit of your wrong. Otherwise, I deserve more punishment than you for being a hypocrite, a fawning hypocrite. Why? The problems that we faced at the time of low generation capacity, you have not faced it. You have never had a problem with generation capacity. And he was talking about take-or-pay clauses. Even your zip line contract about Bawumia is fronting. There are take-or-pay clauses in there. They say that whether they flies or not, you must pay a flat rate. And Annie, all the power plants and agreements we've signed have take-or-pay under them, including the ones under this government. The AXA one, which they renewed a couple of months ago, it has capacity charges in there. They call it capital recovery payment. They have take-or-pay clauses in there. They are doing an LNG project in Tema. That contract has a take-or-pay clause in there, signed by this government. So how can you hate take-or-pay under the NDC and love take-or-pay under you? You don't eat pork, but you eat pork soup. What do you take Ghanaians for? That we wash our faces sideways or what? You, when you were in power, until the latter stages of our government, did we have a gas plant? That saves us $300 million. You came to inherit $300 million. You don't have to import. Which serious plans have you added since you came to power? Apart from renewing what you came to meet.
Let me let him come in.
No, let me land. Let me land.
Land now.
And he says that nobody has died from doing so. That is a palpable falsehood. Look, on 20th March, just this year, there's a news report what I'll forward to you. 2 babies have died at the St. Anne's Hospital in Damongo in the Savannah region because the lights went off and doctors could not take care of them. Pulse Ghana reported it. So please, let nobody think that we are dullards in this country. This economy is not in better shape than it was under the MP. There's no average or absolute figure analysis that bears that out.
Right.
Anybody who says that needs to have his head examined.
Doc.
Yeah, I think
I wanted us to touch on the smart schools, but
few things.
doesn't look like
We can touch on that. I don't intend to drag this matter.
Oh, our time is almost up.
Yeah. So on the issue of the default, he gave a news publication. Dr. Bawumia, these are the chronology of events on the default. Bawumia was the first to broach that news that we are defaulting on the AFDB loan. The Minister for Finance, Mr. Seftekwe, came out and disputed that statement. And that followed with a statement he just read. Then, the opposition then, Dr. Bawumia, produced the letter, and this was the letter from AFDB. It was dated on date February 18, 2015. And it was addressed to Mr. Samuel D. Amiyao, Director, Debt Management Division, Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Ghana. Subject, application of sanctions, arrears on bills due on 1st January 2015. And it reads, we wish to inform that as of today, we have not received full payment in respect of bank group bills as per attached arrears report. Therefore, and in accordance with the bank group policy on loan arrears recovery, we wish to inform you that sanctions have been imposed on 1st February 2015. And I repeat, sanctions have been imposed on 1st February 2015. We count on your prompt action for the timely settlement of the amount due to enable the lifting of sanctions. Sincerely, signed by Jocelyn Ahoni, Division Manager. So it cannot be true when he said that there was no default.
How do you reconcile that letter to?
And I'm saying that I've given you the chronology of events, and I was talking. I'll give you the. I said that first it started with Ms. Bawumia making that statement. Seftegha came and denied that, followed by the statement. Then we produced the letter. No, even the AFDB never came back to this matter.
Oh, how? Just
okay. I said they never.
Just Google it. AFDB statement.
Can we make this from me? And I'm saying that I'm not denying the statement.
So then what are you?
I'm not denying the statement, and I'm giving you the chronology of events. That when someone makes a statement and you deny, and I give you evidence and you vote, you cannot say I'm wrong. That's the order. So you can't tell me that diplomatic relations requires that this letter probably shouldn't have gone to public domain. Requires that protecting the image and probably with goodwill that they will pay. The AFDB could have come to say that no, there's nothing of that sort. But at least it wasn't only Ghana. Let me give you the countries. Djibouti, Ghana, Somalia, Sudan, and Zimbabwe. These were the countries we were competing with. Sudan, Somalia, Djibouti, and Zimbabwe. In 2015, not even rich countries. So you cannot tell me that there was no difference. And again, on jobs, he said there are different figures. And we have systematically provided details of the jobs. If the Minister for Employment is speaking with records to the PFGB jobs created, he will tell you 5 million jobs have been created. Because under PFGB, Planning for Food and Jobs, over 2 million jobs were created. In the private sector alone, between the periods, over 1 million jobs have been created. So if they say jobs created, you are not looking at only those people on government payroll. If government provide an avenue for private people to employ and engage in productive activity, that is employment created. Okay. So depending on the angle you are looking at it, whether you are looking at those solely on government payroll, people being employed on government payroll, you may contend the figures of 5 million, which is well, you are justified. But you don't go and use figures that contain people in the private sector and figures that are people on the public sector, and you say that there are differences in figure. You are not being too...
So yours is a combination of the two?
I'm saying the 5 million that was mentioned by the minister was the combination of those, every sector of the Ghanaian economy. Private sector and then public sector. So we cannot be doing such an analysis and you say that there are different figures being thrown around.
But what has the public minister got to do with the private sector employment?
Like, where is the minister responsible for labor and employment relations? Labor is not only on the private sector. Labor is not only on the public sector. Okay, when they impose a minimum wage bill, it has effect on private sector payment. So it has payment on all of them. So if you say it doesn't have mandate on that, I wonder. That's
true with minimum wage. But your payment, if there's a payment being made in the private sector, is it being made from the public coffers?
We are not, I have just labored to give you the distinction between people placed on public wage bill and people jobs created. I have done that even just a minute ago or 10 seconds ago. I told you that when jobs are created, for instance, PFG, they are not on public payroll. Those paid or making their income are not on public payroll. But are you saying that government facilitating that should not count that as employment created? So that is the point we are making. Okay. We are making the point that NIP supports businesses. Young people, when jobs are created, they are not on public payroll. The government will have to count them as jobs created. So I don't get it when people say that, okay, it's only public sector because they are not enjoying driving salary from the public sector, they cannot be seen as, or they cannot be said to be employed in the public sector. For me, I did not make the point that we shouldn't do absolute analysis when it comes to employment, or we should not do percentage when it comes to employment or unemployment. My principle was that, and my basis was that, I told him that if you came to exchange rate, you said, no, we shouldn't be doing percentages. You said it. And I even said so before I came. And I said, okay, it's okay. It's okay. If you say that a person 4 Ghana cedi 4 years ago is not the same as 12 Ghana cedis today, or 13 Ghana cedis today, and that someone should tell me it's better, it's okay. You are doing absolute analysis. I'm saying that when you come to the employment data, do the same thing. And the perception has been created here that 2012 Living Standard survey was used, and they said unemployment was 1.27. He mentioned it. And he said that if jobs were to be created, we would have absorbed all these people. But we have just blindfolded ourselves to the fact that we are holding population static. You are assuming the population is not growing.
Oh, I've also given you the 2021 figure.
I'm coming. The 2021, you said 5 million. Okay, you said 5 million. You are just blindfolding the fact that from the fact that the population is not growing. Let's even assume.
By how much? Between 2021 and now, how much has the population grown?
We are saying that.
So give the figures. How much has it grown? Bear in mind that the GSS is saying that between 2023 and 2022 and 2023, just a split of 1 year, 550,000 people fell out of employment. So in fact, even the figure they gave for 2021, you that 500,000 people have added.
So let me tell you what occasion it. And that was something that when people figures are bundled.
They are not binding about figures.
When you interpret figures, for instance, we know that during that particular period, a lot of jobs were lost. One,
and you say you created the employment. You were creating employment, but jobs were lost.
Jobs lost could be several factors. Okay. So for instance, COVID came. A lot of people went out of business.
Oh, but COVID was in 2001.
I said a lot of people went out of business.
2019, yeah.
2019. We are talking 3 years after.
COVID was not 2019.
Oh, that's 2019.
Can we be
No, 2020. Okay, 2020. COVID was in 2020.
Okay. Yes. I get your point. I think you said 2019 because COVID-19.
It started 2019.
Yes. So in 2020,
between 2022 and 2023 is 1 year. 2022 and 2023, Kwame was not really an issue. It had basically been dealt with.
Okay, you make your point. Our time is up.
So the fact is that you don't pick figures for a particular point. I have repeated this.
These are government. I have not picked figures. I have picked it from government sources.
I'm not saying it's not from government sources, but the interpretation, the meaning given to the figures are from you.
So what does it mean?
Okay, so when you are giving your own interpretation,
how do you explain the fact?
Meaning to
explain
data,
it to your viewers. Look, there's a government body. There's a government body which you as a government have given money to conduct a census, count people by head. They want to do the counting.
Okay, but what interpretation has he put on figures that?
Now, Ghana has which you yourself have given money to, because the survey is funded either through donor support or through government funding. They go to do the counting and they tell you that in 2020, which is barely 2-3 years ago, there were 1.5 million unemployed people.
And what was the total?
You come to report. You come to.
I beg your pardon. There were people looking for jobs. As at then.
Because 1.5 million people.
No, that's what was the total.
That's the figure they're giving you. It is for.
It is not the figure.
This is the employable. No. What is important?
The figure is not as
you are giving
important as the percentage of total people looking for jobs.
Annie. They are saying
people looking for jobs, willing and willing.
They actually gave a figure of people who say they've given up looking for jobs because they can't find it.
It is not.
It is not important. Why?
I'm saying
it's not important.
1.5 and also 1.2 as a percentage of the number looking for jobs.
If the employment minister tells you that,
don't go to tell me
if the employment minister tells you that 5.3 million jobs have been created, then just 1 year down the line, the same person comes to say that 3 million have been created.
Okay.
Then the vice president says 2.5 million have been created. Okay. Then the vice president again comes to say 2.1 million jobs have been created over the same period. You know that they are lying.
And I've given you the basis. I've given you the basis upon which those figures
are different. PMFJ has not created 2 million jobs. Okay. In fact, what is the total population of farmers in Ghana?
Okay, you're interjecting him. You're not being
fair.
But
we are done. He has
you're not being fair to him. But John Jinapor wanted me to ask you this question, Doctor. He said that can Dr. Kabiru tell us the real cause of the current power outages? Granted, the ECG has some transformer challenges. Is it true that there is a deficit in generation or not? That's the key question. Do we have adequate fuel or not?
They say they created excess capacity as a power. So if there's excess capacity,
do we have a fuel
capacity?
problem?
It is in the bulletins from the energy sector. Every day they tell you.
And I'm equally stressing on this program. Look,
you didn't see the WAPO letter.
So I saw it.
We've been in arrears when it comes to payment to the power. That one is not in doubt.
So that's not the problem.
Government is not staying current on. And let me
mention, as part
of the IMF program,
you can't be current.
As part of the IMF program, it is required that government try to stay current.
But you are not current. For 7 months, you've not been current.
As part of the benchmarks. Okay.
Yes, we are defaulting.
If we are defaulting as a user, will not pass for such a review.
Oh, okay. But you are defaulting. There's a fact.
Let me. It is a requirement.
But it's a fact that you are defaulting.
It's a requirement, unless the default is occasioned by a cogent reason that the IMF is acceptable.
Okay.
Let me send you the report from the PUC.
I guess we have cogent reasons.
Which cogent reasons?
To the default.
So you have cogent reasons for default.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So there are cogent reasons for you sleeping in darkness.
I don't know.
I see.
Of course, there are no cogent reasons.
We'll take a break. We'll back shortly. Thank you, Starboy. I like what you're wearing.
Thank you very much. Charles going out to Mami Yeboah.
Mami Yeboah did this?
Yeah.
Wow.
Made by Mami Yeboah.
Okay.
She's inside a Amstead.
Yeah.
Kumasi.
Is that anyway,
right? Hey. Amstead is a school. Hey, Papa Cho.
So now all your clothes are being done in Kumasi. Wow.
Anything K, I won't say again. Because if I say
but
K,
you can't mention Mami Yeboah and leave Kumasi out.
Okay.
But there are two names. Then now there are two names in Kumasi.
You know the olden days when they used to do songs. They say, "I just come Mami Yeboah, oh Kumasi." I know you're separate.
But there's another Nchia that has
so
to go to
Funny
Kumasi.
Face is still in the news. We all know what happened on Sunday night and now his colleagues, DKB and all the other comedians are saying that, let's come. Earlier there were issues.
So in the video I saw of this accident, he was not necessarily hurt.
Yes.
So he rather ran into people?
Yes, ran into people. So he ran into people.
And it was deliberate, or was just by
no, I think it was by accident, because some of the eyewitnesses had mentioned that he was drunk. He was driving allegedly, as they said that he was drunk whilst he was driving. So he crashed into the people. A grandmother who had her grandson and granddaughter with her, and also some other people on the motorbike. So 5 people critically injured. And they are receiving treatment. For the young kids, they are now callable because you understand they had some issues to their head and all that. So yeah, so that's the situation. So DKB is calling all comedians, friends to come around and help Funny Face out in the situation. It's like he needs a lot of love around him. And some people are also of the view that he's just probably hiding behind all this and just, doing messing around.
Hiding behind things and be hurting people.
Well, something that is going a second chance, and so he should have utilized it properly than get himself into this space again while he's now in trouble, he's in the police custody and all of that. But anyway, we thank God that nobody died from the accident. If not,
I just hope that the children will be fine.
Yeah, definitely.
They are in critical condition now.
Definitely. And so he's been in the news, since Sunday, yesterday. But hey, your friend Bongo Ideas is also in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's
insulting all of us. I've seen some. Oh, he didn't write it.
Oh, no.
Because I've seen parody accounts now.
Parody accounts also. There are lots of them. We say a lot of things. But he himself was featured in a documentary, or a news, item by the DW, where he said that he gave an account of what happened to him on the night and all of that. Yeah, so he's out talking here and there. So Bongo Ideas is in the news also. But before I wrap up, I just want to share with you some of our new programs here on Metro TV. Miss Gorgeous and the Fans Must Be Crazy. Miss Gorgeous is the auditioning is happening this Friday. Yes, 29th.
Can I audition?
What?
Can I audition?
They said less than 30. So I don't know if you can.
you know my age.
I don't know if you can, but yeah, that is the audition which will be happening. And this is based on month. So we are coming to rep your month as a beautiful, beautiful reality show that we are bringing. So June is definitely going to win. And on your screen now is The Fans Must Be Crazy. This is about the fans. If you think you can banter for your team, if you're a Chelsea fan, Liverpool fan, whatever, Hearts of Oak, you can banter for your team. Come and face off with others. And at the end of the day, you get to win some amazing prizes.
I'm interested in that one.
Yeah.
The fans must be crazy.
Yeah, the fans must be crazy. So, Annie, that's it for the trends today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Starboy. All right, that's what we have for you this morning on Good Morning Ghana. We're back tomorrow with the program. Thanks for watching.